Welcome everyone to the Omniverse of Nick, and part 1 to the story that many of you have been looking forward to for a long time. But before we get into it, as usual, before we get into today's video, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, so that way you don't miss any updates, videos, etc., and comment your favorite series or what ifs on the channel as of now, as well as future recommendations for stuff that you want to see happen on the channel. Once you guys get all that done and out of the way, we shall begin part 1 to what if Rick Grimes found Lightning McQueen. A story that many of you have been looking really forward to, and I've been looking really forward to bringing it about. Just ignore the black smudge because I accidentally put 2 founds and I noticed it. You guys pay no mind to it. Now I can tell from people who haven't been paying attention to updates and that kind of thing, how does this even happen? It's Lightning McQueen in The Walking Dead. How does that even happen? But trust me when I say you'll understand how I make this actually happen. It's going to be a story thing. Not like Jason, not like Jigsaw, not like all the other crossovers I've done. I plan to do one with John Wick just the same as this. You'll understand when the time comes. Now, as always, let's set the scene. We open up at the start of The Walking Dead. Rick Grimes has just been saved by Morgan after waking up in the zombie apocalypse. He approaches the little farmstead where there's a horse that he's about to take into the city to find his family. And there he stares at the horse. But just as he's about to go over to the horse and take it, he hears something. Deeper behind the horse, deeper in the grass, more into the behind area of the farmhouse. And it's coming from deep in the grass. So, he goes past the horse, and he goes into the grass to see what the noise is. And once he sees, he gasps. There, broken down, in the grass, is a car. Broken down, battered, beat up, and with the weirdest and most unique paint setup ever seen by Rick. Because he's never seen a car like this. But that's not what catches Rick's eye. This car seems to have a mouth. And eyes? He can't tell if he's delusioning this and it's another coma-based, thing. He's really confused right now. But he proceeds to take a few more steps forward to further analyze the car. Just then, the car opens its eyes and very injuredly and quietly asks, "Who are you?" Except it's very weak, and it's obvious that this car is in serious damage. Rick wants to respond, but this car just spoke to him. He's honestly scared. He doesn't know whether to speak, shoot the car, or race on that horse to find his family as fast as that horse can gallop. But he doesn't move. He can't take his eyes off this extraordinary vehicle. So, he takes another step forward with the utmost caution, his hand ready for his revolver to shoot the car, and he introduces himself as Rick Grimes. The car, still very weakly and injuredly, says his name. "My name is Lightning McQueen." Except it's very hard to understand him because it's obvious once again that this car is in deep pain and he's very broken down. But even his name surprises Rick. Such an out of their place name. And speaking and eyes, he doesn't know what to make of this. This is such a mind-blowing moment to Rick Grimes, as would be anyone. But he knows that if he wants to get more information, he has to fix this car. because if he's sentient like him, he could die in mere moments. So he goes into the farmhouse and reluctantly goes inside, because remember, he avoided going inside because of how soft Rick was at this moment and the dead bodies inside. And he looks every which and where and manages to find a small set of tools, as well as whatever he would have at his disposal before his car ran out of gas. Now, we all know that Rick is by no means, absolutely no means, a car person. We know that even from the ones who live. But I feel that in this moment, he would be able to put Mcqueen at a sort of, kind of, better state than he was in. So, he is able to at least repair some little parts of Mcqueen. Enough to where he can move more, and he's definitely more awake whenever Rick actually puts him in a good enough condition where he can be. And once he is awake, he looks all around and is very scared. He doesn't know what's going on. But Rick once again introduces himself as Rick Grimes and said they spoke earlier, but he was very, very injured. So Rick did his best to fix him up, but they don't really have much, as the world that they're in, it's very run down, as Mcqueen, can plainly see. And he wanted to know more about him, but he didn't want him to die if he was sentient like him. Now, he goes up to Mcqueen more and bends down to get on his eye level and asks him to reaffirm his name, who he is, like where he came from, and if he can remember how he got in that grass and so beat up. Now, originally, when Mcqueen woke up, even while Rick was speaking and before that, he woke up very scared because he didn't know where he was. He didn't know what he was looking at. A talking car staring at a human being. It was very weird for both of them, even weirder for Mcqueen. But whenever Rick began speaking to him, Mcqueen realized that Rick was not harmful. He helped him, and he wants to know about him. He doesn't want to hurt him or anything. So, after some calming down and understanding the situation, very, very kinda, Mcqueen speaks up, actually talking in complete sentences, which once again takes Rick by utter shock. And he reaffirms his name is Lightning McQueen, and honestly, it's very hard to tell him where he came from, but he will tell Rick what happened and how he thinks he got there. Last thing he remembers, he was racing with a car named Jackson Storm, and he was going really, really fast because he was almost getting beat. He was really on the edge, and then all of a sudden, he just crashed, or he was starting to crash. And the last thing that Mcqueen remembers is out of the corner of his eye, right before he started flipping all around and crashing and all that, and he lost control, he saw a blue sort of circular light right out of the corner of his eye, right in front of him. And then the last thing that he saw was just a sort of shade of grass. It was kind of dark, and Mcqueen couldn't really tell or see what was going on. He was in deep pain of crashing, and yeah, that's really all Mcqueen can tell him because he doesn't remember anything else. And he's really confused on where he is or if he's even still in his home, because he's staring at a completely different kind of person or being than he's familiar with. And Rick just listens, and he has never heard such an amazing story. And this really captivates on the whole, like, wanting to help this car. And honestly, part of Rick just wants to not believe this entire story, find his family, and just ignore that this ever happened. But honestly, he really can't. For one, he really wants to help this car, and there's no reason why he shouldn't believe him. The dead are literally coming back to life and eating other people. So a talking car, especially when he's staring right at it, he's talked in complete sentences and told him this amazing story. And he hasn't even gotten into his whole future and like his life, Mcqueen. So Rick has no reason not to believe him. So Rick makes up his mind. He tells Mcqueen that he is going to help him any way that he can. He is on a journey to look for his family. They're in a world of the dead, pretty much. And it's definitely not filled with talking cars. So yeah, he doesn't know about this whole other world thing, and he really doesn't know whether to truly believe it or not. But Rick says that it doesn't matter. All that matters is that he will help Mcqueen any way he can. Not only can Mcqueen possibly help him to find his family, sometime in the future, depending on how their world is in the near future, maybe Rick can actually get Mcqueen back home, and they can both help each other in the end. And Mcqueen is very happy to hear this and feels like he's starting to have a friend in Rick Grimes, and says he's all down for helping him. But whenever he tries to start up his engine, he can't. He's completely out of gas, and he's still too broken down to be able to drive fully. Oh, he can move, but not enough. He can barely move a couple meters without him sort of shutting down and not being able to drive fully. So Rick finds whatever disposal that he can, again, to fix him to a certain point where Mcqueen can at least move at a slow pace, but he knows that he'll still be able to not get in Mcqueen because of his design, and that he won't be able to drive and keep up. So Rick makes a decision. He decides to find the nearest big piece of rope that he can and tow Mcqueen to Atlanta while still remaining quiet to get into the city. Now, what will happen down the line? How will this affect Rick meeting Glenn and the Atlanta camp? And how will Mcqueen fit into this entire story?
Why am I asking you all these questions?
Find out in the next episode on the Omniverse of Nick.
I carry within me the pride of a... Bullshit.